Right, we're soaking the skin. And just to show you, don't let that. This is just 3 or 4 inches of water. Sit the skin into the water and turn the skin around so that the water gets on the skin, and you'll find that it'll start soaking very quickly. Now, so the skin has been very tight. Now it's becoming loose, and I'm beginning to fold it into the water and submerge it in the water, and that skin will be ready for fitting in about half an hour. That's it. That is soaking the skin. That's the first part of making your own bodhrán, is first of all having your skin and then soaking it in water to make it very pliable. Just quickly, I am not going to do this for very long, but sanding the rim. It's important that where you're going to put the skin, that it's smooth. You don't want any sharp ends on the rim that may cut. So if you sand well around the sides of that, and also on the inside you want to take the sharp edge off it. So sand the inside quite well. You may use a rough and then down to a fine sandpaper. So start off with rough sandpaper and then take it down to a fine sandpaper. This is a quick video, so you'll have to do, that's going to take about 15 minutes. Okay, this is step 2. Cut the dowels to fit on the inside of the rim, and this is in the crossbar shape, or what I call the X shape. Now in this one, you can cut a piece out of the bottom down and a piece out of the top down, and they can marry together. There is another way to do it, where you can do a cross, a next shape. Now the advantage of that is that when you're playing the bodhrán, you can get your hand inside and you can play the skin from the inside, which is a little bit more difficult if you use the crossbar shape. But either will do. Either will do. The idea of the bars is to strengthen the plywood, the rim. Now I've just screwed them in, the crossbars, and I've just used the X shape. The timber is raw, the crossbars are raw. If you wish, you can stain this a colour, black, brown, whatever colour you fancy, and then you can varnish it. And you can varnish it by hand. Just be careful and do it nice, neat. And that is crossbars, stain and varnish. Or if you just want to varnish it, you'll get a natural colour finish, and it'll pick out the grain that's in the plywood. Quite nice. Now, when you're varnishing, you've got to leave about 20 mil at the front here where the skin is going to go. Now what I do is I put a scotch tape on it, a white tape, because it sticks and it doesn't allow the varnish to go underneath the scotch tape. In this case I'm going to use, because I'm not going to varnish it, I'm going to use an insulating tape which is 20 mil wide. This is just to give you an idea of what 20 mil looks like. Now, and I'm using this one just because it's visible. If I put a white tape on this, a white scotch tape, you'll hardly notice it. Now you can put it round, and when you're varnishing, you're going to varnish up to the tape, but not beyond it. Now, so that gives you an idea. In other words, this will be varnished. You'll varnish up to that, and the scale will come up onto this, and maybe a little bit past it. There will be glue. When this is varnished and dried, you can take this off, and you'll have no varnish here. Now, what that does is it allows the skin to stick to the raw wood, because you will be using a wood glue, which I will inform you of which one to get. Now, I've been looking at the skin here. It's been in here for half an hour and it feels very soft, and it's like a wet rag. You can see how it folds. Now, if you know, the skin was very tight. Now, all I want to do with this, while I'm putting the glue on the rim, and I'm going to use this rim because it's ready. It's black, just a stained black. I'm going to drip that skin in I just throw it into a bin. Let it drip dry. Now, this shows you this part has been sprayed black and this part hasn't on the plywood. So, this is the part that I'm going to glue. And putting on the glue, I generally put it on with a brush fairly generously. This is a water-based glue, but it has a fixative in it. And what happens is that the glue will dry more quickly than the skin. It'll set. And this is a Bodhrán that I'm doing a repair on it for somebody. There was a hole in it, so I took the skin off. So that's why you're seeing a different rim to the one that I was putting the bars in. This one has a T-bar. This is an addition you could do. You can cut out, and that means that you can get your arm inside, and the T-bar means that gives you room. And so it's just a different, instead of having crosses and the X shape, you can have a T-bar. Now, that is it. It didn't take too long to paint that. And that's literally, I've painted the glue on. Now, what I want is I'm going to put the skin on. This is dripped. It's not dry, but it's taken all the heavy wet off it. So, put it over the skin. The skin is much bigger, as you can see, than the Bodhrán. Plenty of excess. And then, what I want to do is, there's a band. Now, with this band, I've just tied it. So it's easy. You get a length of elastic. You just need to tie it in a bow and pull it over the rim and the skin like that. Now that will dry out neatly, but before you do that, to put the band up to the front so that the skin dries to the rim, the wooden rim, and as I say, the wooden part of the rim. So I'm just pulling this neatly until I get the skin taut, get all those wrinkles out of it. Just pulling it to the elastic to the front, pull the tape up nice and flat, and then I'm going to rub the skin taut, and I'm going to show you how to do that because very simple. Pulling the skin taut by rubbing the band, and yeah, that's gone a bit far back, so I'll pull the band a little bit forward. Yeah, so you can see the skin is taut. That will dry out. The next step is to cut away the excess, and it's as simple as using a scissors. So this I cut right up to the band, and I can be honest, I often cut away part of the elastic band as well by mistake, but try and keep the band because you can always use it again. This is a heavy skin, but it will dry out nice. Now, with all my Bodhráns, you'll notice that they're taped. So when this Bodhrán dries, I'll tape it, and then I usually put a band. And what I mean by tape is the black tape, the insulated tape, around the outside of the rim, starting from the inside and working your way to the outside. And when the skin is dry, I will tape the Bodhrán. I'll tape it with insulating tape. And I'll show you what I mean now when I finish this, because I see a Bodhrán just at my feet, and I'll finish cutting this. Now, just to show it. Now what I'll do is when this is dry, I'll tape it. And this is it. That's the tape. Now, that gives you, dampens the tone, because it is a bass drum. You don't want a tinny. There's a nice resonant sound and a bit of a sustain. Zoom off it. So, last but not least in this bar, you will have glue, excess glue, and while it's wet, rub it off. And if you have, soak your cloth in water and rub it off. It'll get, because it is a water-based glue. Clean up your Bodhrán and leave it to one side to dry. The excess skin can go in the bin. Right, the next step. When I say cut the pins shorter, that pin is very long and it will go right through the timber. So what I do is I cut it short, So when I nail it in, it won't go through and come out the other side. Now I cut at an angle, so I'm still leaving a point on the pin. It's an upholstery stud, so there's a point on it, so it's easy enough to hammer it in. This is the original pin, and this is the cut pin. So you can see the difference in length of the pin, and it works very, very, very well when you cut it. Now I've just taken off the elastic. I'll throw it to one side, and now I'm going to put on the webbing, right? And the webbing is simple, and I'm going to put it on with the pins. Just that this is my little bench, Black & Decker. Now, as you can see, I'm going to start the first one, and I just nail it straight down. Now, after that, I pull it tight, and I go to one of the bars, and I use the bars as support. I love to pull it tight because it also helps keep the skin on. It's neater to pull when you pull the webbing tight. Again, pull it tight. Now you have to keep it straight because the overall look, if you don't get it straight, you're going to have to take the studs out and start again. So it's important to keep it straight, so it looks neat. So I've got the band all the way around, and I'm covering the first stud. Now it's a bit long, so I'm just going to cut the band so I don't have, and then fold the band underneath, and then stud it. Now when you're at that stage, you have the band on. I have a number of studs in it, but you have excess studs, so use the extra studs to decorate the rim. Now it's up to you as to how many studs you want to put on the rim. I generally put about 12 or 14, and they're really for decoration because the skin is glued, and gluing is better than stapling, and it's better than studding. Now the gluing is better because the skin is grabbing to the timber. If you just stud it, the skin will be pulling from just the pin that's underneath it, and if you staple it, the skin will be pulling against the staples. And often I have had Bodhráns back either stapled or studded where the skin has pulled away and torn away. With the gluing, I haven't ever had one Bodhrán back where the skin has pulled off the rim. So gluing is always better. That's the last job of the Bodhrán, almost. Now the Bodhrán is ready. I just need it to dry. It'll dry overnight, or it'll dry in about 6 to 8 hours. The last job I'm going to do with this, I'm going to tape it, and it's going to look like that when it's taped. Now what that does is it takes any buzz out of the skin, and it dampens the tone and makes a nice deep, as I've shown you before, nice deep tone. And that's how you make a Bodhrán.